Rouse yourself to action, Seneca says. Shake off the habit of overthinking with hard work. Putting stuff off is easy, right? Seneca says the one thing all fools have in common is that they're getting ready to start. They're doing it later. In Meditations, Mark Aurelius, talking to himself, says you could be good now, instead you choose tomorrow. So what is the hard thing you have to do? What is the thing you're putting off? Do it now. Get it out of the way. Cross it off the list. Challenge yourself. Get stronger for having wrestled with it, having crossed it off the list, having done it. Don't wait. Don't say you're warming up to it. Don't say you'll do it after this, after that, when this is finished, when things are easier. It won't be easier. Do it now while it's hard, because it's hard. We are what we do. That's what habit and virtue is. How do I become more virtuous? Aristotle says, the same way you become a better builder, by building more stuff, by doing the work. Epictetus, he says, don't talk about your philosophy, embody it. Talking about it, journaling about it, that's a form of practice for sure, but it's mostly about making the choices, taking the action. He says our capability, it's confirmed and it grows through the actions that we take. He says, if you want to do something, if you want to be something, you have to make a habit of it. And so that's the essence of all of these choices. You practice them big and small. You choose them over and over and over again until they become part of your muscle memory. They become part of who you are.
Need motivation?
Watch your top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because I need them, because I want to wake up every single day and get pushed by somebody who's doing a lot more than me. And in watching their videos, it inspires me to be bolder, to have more courage, and to go chase down the life of my dreams. And I hope it does the same for you. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Ryan Holiday, and my take on his top 10 rules of success. Enjoy. Rule number 2 is develop self-discipline.
What's the number one cause of injury for athletes? It's overtraining, right? So like, yeah, your ordinary person, it's like you're not training enough. You're not working hard enough.
Yeah.
But then at a more elite level, at a more accomplished level, actually the trouble is, hey, the race isn't for 6 weeks. Like, do you want to peak now, or do you want to peak at the right moment, right? Yeah. Or this is just a practice session. You don't have to go all out. Or, it's a long season. Are you prepared for that? And so, discipline has to be balanced with sustainability, with rest, relaxation, recuperation, recovery, all these other things. And that requires kind of a spiritual discipline on not just, hey, I can run an hour without getting tired, but like, can I stop myself from doing that?
Yeah.
That's not what I should be doing in this moment. And I think at the end of the day, self-discipline is the ability to have an emotion, an instinct, a feeling to do a thing, and then to catch yourself and go, is that actually the right thing to do? Yes or no? And sometimes it is. Sometimes it's, hey, it's cold outside and it's 5 a.m. and it's still dark and I don't want to get up. But I have to get up because I've made these commitments. I'm behind, blah, blah, blah. Then other times it is to stay in bed, right? Just like, sometimes you feel that surge of temper coming on and you have to go, no, that's not a good, like, it's always the ability to step back, put the emotion, the instinct, the opinion to the test. And I think you learn this in meditation. I think you learn this for Stoicism in the journaling of going like, here's the thing, and I can choose it or not. I can choose to identify it or not. It is not me. The Stoics have this word assent, right? Not like ascent up a mountain, but A-S-S-E-N-T. Do you assent to the feeling or not? Do you agree to it, rubber stamp it, approve it, go along with it or not?
Do you subscribe? Yeah.
Yeah, that's what discipline is about. What do you assent to and what do you not assent to?
Rule number 3 is start journaling.
What has been the value of writing on your life, the unobvious stuff, the unobvious upsides that you've experienced from writing?
Nothing clarifies what you think quite like the practice or the exercise of writing something down. At Amazon, if you want to launch a new project or you're suggesting a change, if you want to call a meeting, you have to write it out. You have to create a written agenda. In some cases, you have to write a press release for that thing you're proposing. You have to write like a written pitch for the whole thing. And it's not so much for the communicating it to the other people, but it's also about the forcing you to go through the process of figuring out what you think and why, and the problems with it, the contradictions of it. Like being forced to write it down is just so different than it just bouncing around in your head or riffing on it. There's just something very, very powerful about writing. And, anyone that's sat down to write a book, I think you think, well, I know this better than anyone. I'm really excited about it. Then you sit down and that kind of enthusiasm or interest, that can get you like the first 10 pages. And then you just go you're just spent. And then you go, well, what comes next and how do they build on each other? You have to have a plan. You have to have a system, a structure. You have to have solved the whole thing before you can write it. You can't just figure it out on the fly, right? The stream of consciousness stuff, it doesn't work. And so writing is just really, really powerful. I'm a huge believer in all these other mediums, and I make content in all these other mediums, but I write the ideas first. And it comes from the books. The books is the synthesis of all of it. And then if I'm doing a TikTok or Instagram or an article, it's all broken out from the process of having spent many, many, many hours sitting and thinking about and trying to come up with the best way of expressing this very complicated idea.
Rule number 4 is make beautiful choices.
Everyone wants to become beautiful. And the Stoics say there's actually a really easy way to do it. You can have it right now. The Stoics say you become beautiful when you make beautiful choices. And I think this is true when you see someone who is content with themselves, when someone who knows they are getting better, when someone is making positive choices in their life, it radiates from them, regardless of what their body looks like, regardless of how old they are, regardless of what genetic gifts they have. If you want to be beautiful, make beautiful choices. Get up, right? Manage your life. Have a good schedule. As we talked about before, have a good media diet. Focus on doing difficult things. Push yourself out of your comfort zone. Beauty isn't just physical. It comes from who you are as a human being, how you carry yourself, what you think about yourself, what difference you make in the world. You want to be beautiful, the Stoics say. Start right now by making beautiful choices.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5 is do something hard daily.
What do you think is the best discipline you've built, over time? Is it writing? Obviously, that would be the obvious one, but is there another one that you think underpins that success? Is there a discipline you've worked on the longest?
Well, I think writing is such a sedentary sort of intellectual cerebral thing that I try to balance it out with a physical practice. So I try to do something hard every single day. Running, swimming, biking. I do a walk once a day. I do something hard every day. And part of what that is transferable back to the practice, right? Because again, it comes down to you don't want to do it, it's hard, it's not going the way you want it, but you've cultivated the muscle of being able to push through that. There's lots of claims about the health benefits of cold plunges, and they may or may not exist. That's not why I do it, right? Yeah. The muscle for me is the cranking of the knob, of the looking at the cold plunge at my house and going, it is going to be unpleasant to get in there, but I have the ability to force myself to do that. That's the muscle that you want to cultivate.
Yeah.
And I think, people want to be the person on the other side of that, but they don't realize that the way you do it is by just starting it.
Rule number 6 is take care of yourself.
Taking care of yourself. To me, it's the priority number 1. It has to be, because I'm not going to be a husband or a dad if I fall apart.
You don't control if you get prostate cancer at 56, but you do control at 56, for the most part, whether you can walk up a flight of stairs without, breathing heavily, right? Or whether you can pick up your grandkids, or whether you can swim in a pool, or you control those things. And you control those things by the decisions you're making long before that the decision to go for a walk, to eat decently, to not get addicted to certain things, to practice, habits in moderation, right? And that's what temperance is about. I think living a strenuous life in the sense of you're active, you're engaged, you're in control of your body is a form of discipline that carries over to the other places of your life. I talk about this in the book too. I mean, also, like, if your office is a mess, I think your work is going to be a mess, right? If your body is a mess, if you feel terrible, are you going to be as good controlling your temper? Probably not, right? Because you feel like garbage, right? Mm-hmm. And so you treat yourself and other people like garbage. So these things are all very related.
Rule number 7 is find opportunity amid crisis.
And what does Stoicism say about how we confront unexpected crises in our lives that we are clearly not responsible for? A cancer diagnosis, we get fired from work, something else bad happens that we were not responsible for.
To me, the essence of Stoicism is the idea that we don't control what has happened, but we control how we respond to what happens. And so, Marcus's idea, which I have tattooed on my arm, the obstacle is the way, he says, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. He's saying that.
Say that again.
The impediment to action advances action.
The impediment to action advances action.
What stands in the way becomes the way. He's saying that, basically it's like nothing can actually stop us from what we're trying to do because we can accommodate and adjust and adapt. He says we can convert obstacles to our own purposes. Basically, what he's saying is that stuff happens, stuff we dread having happened, that we did everything in our power to prevent from happening. That's not our fault. It's totally screwed up. It's painful, all of that. But it does happen, right? And he says, he's basically saying that now that it's happened, what opportunity does it present you? And it doesn't mean, oh, hey, your mother died. That's great for your business. That's not what he's saying. Like, he's not saying, oh, this is wonderful. But he's saying that this tragic, terrible, frustrating, painful thing happened. There are opportunities in that for you to step up, to grow, to be there for other people, to illustrate or demonstrate the Stoic virtues.
Rule number 8 is fight for yourself.
Marcus Aurelius writes to himself, he says, fight to be the person philosophy wants you to be. And I just love that so much. It's that Stoicism has this ideal for you to be someone who's resilient, someone who's strong, someone who's virtuous, someone who's kind, who cares about the common good, someone who isn't easily rattled, someone who's committed to bettering themselves. That's what Stoicism wants for you. That's what the Stoics have been writing about for centuries. That's what we do in these videos, in the Daily Stoic email. That's the ideal. But the question is, are you fighting for yourself? Are you fighting to be that thing? Are you striving today to get a little bit closer to that perfect ideal? Are you fighting for yourself? The Stoics can't make you be or do anything. They can just lay out the formula, but it's ultimately on you to follow it, to step up and actually be it. That's what I want you to think about today.
Rule number 9 is be committed.
Especially when people watch people do what they love and it gets received well, it's like, oh, well, I want to do that too. Where do you think people go wrong in that journey? Because what are the mistakes we make on that path? Because I feel like that's pretty much where people are headed.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we're sometimes not honest with you. You're like, I want this album to be true to who I want to be, my artistic expression, blah, blah, blah. That's why you made all these sort of individualistic decisions. But deep down, you have this sort of secret lie, which is that you're actually judging yourself on where it lands on the Billboard charts, right? Yeah. So that's the worst of both, right? Because you're not going, well, what do I need to do to be commercially successful? And I'm consistently judging myself on whether it was commercially successful or not. You've set yourself up for maximum disappointment. But if you can say, look, here, my goal is to do my absolute best. My goal here is to get to the truth of what I'm saying, to express what's true inside here. And that's what I'm going to focus on, and I'm not going to waste any time on these other things. I actually do think, I'm sure you found this, is that does make better work. It makes truer work. It makes more authentic work, more relatable work. it actually does make a better product, but only if you are fully and honestly and deeply committed to doing it. It can't be like, I'm making the charitable donation, I'm doing it anonymously, but I still hope everyone sees how wonderful I am.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's you can't have your cake and eat it too.
And rule number 10, the last one before some very special bonus clips, is optimize your time.
To me, like a great day is a day with a lot of white space, and specifically space in the morning to do things the way that I want to do them, which to me is usually, I end up waking up early. That's part of what gives you that space, right? If you wake up at 10:30, like you're behind the 8 ball. If you wake up at 5:30 or 6:30, also, of course, depending on what time zone you're in, you're ahead of people. So that space is yours. And then what is the first decision that you make when you wake up, right? I was talking to someone the other day and they were like, I wake up early, get out of bed, I check my email to see if there's any fires, right? And I was like, well, that's it right there. Like you consciously in the beginning of the day go looking for trouble. Of course you find it. You always are going to find something to be upset about, something to take up some of your time, something to distract you. I think you've got to protect that space in the morning. And it's usually in the morning. I mean, obviously, very few people are actually morning people, right? They're so excited to be up. It's not sunny yet. But you usually have more willpower than at the beginning of the day. So like if you get up at 6 and you work out at 6:30, I think you're going to do more, have more energy, and then get it done than if you wait until 6:30 in the evening when you may or may not have a million excuses, plus you're tired, plus you've eaten poorly, et cetera. So I try to just own that morning. And I know that if I get up at a good time, I get outside, I get some exercise, I don't get sucked in the phone, and maybe I do a little bit of work, like a little bit of writing, like it could be 10:30 and like I've already won, most of the day. I mean, there's still a lot more to do, and there's things that can determine whether it's a super great day or a pretty good day, but it's not going to be a terribly unproductive, unpleasant day if I start things off right. Well begun is half done is a great expression that I like. I think being present and enjoying what happened is important. I guess what I'm saying is like yesterday I did an hour and it was, 92 or 93 degrees outside. It was hot, right? Like, but I didn't say like, hey, is this going to be enjoyable or not? I said, look, this is what I do, and come hell or high water, I'm going to do it, right. And it was enjoyable. It wasn't enjoyable at first, but I pushed through that. It's like on the other side of that resistance is often that thing. And so I think that's the problem with people who are like, I'll just sort of go with the flow. I'll take it as it happens. That can work. But, it's often on the other side of what you're afraid of that you experience really great things. And you have to have the power to push through that.
I would rather challenge myself in my career than challenge myself on a roller coaster, which is totally pointless. And I would rather, for instance, I love running. I run almost every single day, but I don't do any races. I don't feel the need to have artificial competition in my life. Like I'm competing with my job. Do you know what I'm like? I'm trying to write the best. I'm trying to challenge myself with my writing. Running for me is something that I enjoy. And to me, the challenge is like, can I do it every day? Not like, did I beat 200 other people who I don't care about?
Well, I think the point one thing that you've added is like, I think sometimes we have like these artificial expectations that are unnecessary.
Yes.
Right. You're like, hey, I run because I enjoy running. Yeah. I'm not trying to be competitive. And for your writing, like you are competitive, but with yourself.
We all wake up the same every day. We both wake up and things don't go the way we're like, there's not just the adversity when you're younger, but there's also the day-to-day realities. Like you run a business and I run a business, and you have a problem with your accounting software, and then you were having problems with Skype this morning, right? Like there's also those minor situations, and how you choose to deal with them determines whether you're going to have a good day or a bad day just in the same way that other situations determine whether you're going to have a good life or a bad life. And how you choose to respond. Like if Skype wasn't working, and if you said, like, if you got mad, if you decided that this was horrible, if you got really frustrated, it might, not only would that mess with your attitude, but then it doesn't help you with the situation that you then have to deal with, which is, okay, how am I going to find a solution, and how am I going to do this interview, and how am I going to get the best out of it? Like, I'm giving a talk, right? Like, let's say I'm giving a talk in front of an audience. I don't control the audience. I don't control, the weather. I don't control any of these things, but I do control what I bring to that situation. So I want to focus the entirety of my energy on doing the best possible job and salvaging the most out of it.
Yeah.
What do you feel the most satisfied doing? And what do you feel the most sort of fulfilled or creative doing? And then that's got to be the sort of gift that you protect at all times. And then you've got to find the other things that you're either good at but you don't want to be doing, or you're really bad at that take a lot of your time. And you've got to be able to delegate and find services or companies or other people that you can hire to help you with those things. And like that's always been something I've struggled with, and I think is a sort of perennial struggle of any kind of leadership or entrepreneurship. How do you build the organization or the structure that you need so you can continue to do what you need to do as the boss or as the main creative force? And you've got to be able to continually evaluate your own performance in that sense and say, like, look, this is what I'm really good at. This is what I'm not good at. Here's someone who's better at it than me. I'm considering it an investment to hire that person or to bring on that service provider. And I'm doing it so I can continue to be as good as I need to be at my sort of core thing.
It's 8 a.m. Like, I got to get to the office. And I was like, why? Like, why do I have to get, like, I always wanted to be a writer. I accomplished this thing. I could make a living being a writer. I have a home. Like, I haven't been there in weeks. Like, why am I here? And I was like, I was here because, like, I just said yes, and I didn't think about, like, I didn't actually weigh, like, the pros and cons of this scenario. And again, it's like sometimes you got to do what you don't want to do to figure out what you want to do. But it was like I'd sort of distanced myself from a lot of things, and I'd gotten my life in a good place, and then someone called me and offered me money on the phone, and I said yes. Like, right. Because it's so hard to say, like, it's so hard to say no to stuff. Like, especially if you're like a doer, it's so hard to say, like, I want to do this, but I also want to do that. I have to choose. Right. It's easy to say, like, I'm going to try to do both at the same time. And I said yes to both. Like, I don't think I've ever, like, quit anything. Like, I've just added new stuff.
Right.
And so for me, that certainly has added up over time to an unsustainable load.
I think the big problem that many people have is they don't know what's important to them. Yep. And so they end up getting distracted by things that other people are doing or things that other people are trying to do to them, right? And so, like we were talking about with my business early on, I'm thinking, okay, this is the way that you're supposed to do things because this is how everyone else runs their business. Mm-hmm. What I didn't stop to do is think, what kind of business do I want and what kind of life am I trying to have? Mm-hmm. And when I was actually able to have that conversation, I was able to cut out a bunch of extraneous things.
Because you made it this far in a video, I want to celebrate you. Most people start and don't finish. Most people never actually follow through. Most people say they want something, but they don't ever do the work to actually get it. But you are different. You are special. Believe Nation, you made it here all the way to the end, and I love you. So as a special celebration, if you put a hashtag believe down in the comments below on this video, I will showcase you and celebrate you somewhere on the screen in a future video because you are awesome. For 10 more amazing rules from Brendan Burchard, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.
Have you ever struggled to be more disciplined? You know you got that paper due next week, but you don't do anything all week, even though you know it's coming? Or you set up a brand new habit that you're so excited about that you know can improve your life, your relationships,